All right, I'm going to start with a couple
Very early
questions.
plane tomorrow, it's really annoying.
I'm going to start with a couple of questions and then we'll open up to the audience. What I have found over the years is that Kansas City comes with some really good questions, so give that a shot.
I can't guarantee answers in the same
Sure,
eloquence, but
we'll give it a shot. We'll give it a shot.
mind you, one answer will probably take care of 45 minutes right there.
I have only prepared like 3 questions, knowing.
My left side of the audience. Sorry, just 10 to the right.
From here or the right?
Okay, this is the side of Congress where they all jump up and down every 3 minutes. This is the grumpy guy side. I mean, I'm sorry, they were really grumpy. Dude, you're on television, you've got to at least show something to prove you're alive. And then you have the vice president proving her aerobics tendencies. I'm sorry, it looked like an SNL parody. Especially if you stayed for the second act. Wear darker lipstick. See, I burn off time with enthusiasm. But as I told John, I'm probably at that. So, sorry.
No, it's your show.
We just did the Not Ready for Primetime Players Spider Team Up.
Marvel Team Up 74.
For those of you who don't remember, the Not Ready for Primetime Players were what SNL used to be called. They were good. No. But, so we did the team up, and I'm working at home, and Jimmy Shooter calls up one morning, and he says, "How soon can you get in the office?" And I go, because when a writer writes, to say the writer wears gotchis is sort of overdoing it. Because you're all by yourself and, you know, who's going to come into your apartment and notice? So he says, "Why?" I say, "Why?" He says, "John Belushi will be here in 30 minutes. I said, "I'll be here in 20. Fastest shower and taxi I got from ever. And I beat him by 3 minutes. So that's the sort of crazy ass things that used to happen back in the day when Marvel was fun. No, the joke was I called him up. We were trying to figure out what to do in Spidey Team Up, and I said, you know, I'd love to do something totally off the wall, like Spidey teaming up with the Not Ready for Primetime Players, because this is SNL's second year. Yes, that's how long I've been writing. And so Shooter says, so give him a call. Call who? Saturday Night Live. Really? Comic book person calls somebody in the real world? Yeah, Saturday Night Live's the real world. So I did. And I said, "Hi, I'm Chris Claremont. I work for Marvel Comics. We do a book called Marvel Team Up with our primary character, Spider-Man. And it teams him up with really interesting people, or superhero characters. And we were wondering if you know, Lorne Michaels would be at all interested in teaming up Spider-Man with the Not Ready for Primetime Players." "I'm sorry, who are you?" I told her, and she said, "We'll get back to you." In that tone of voice, you know, "we'll get back to you" means. And Shooter says, "How'd it go?" And I said, "Not well." So 10 minutes later, we're still talking, and the phone rings. He picks it up, and it's his secretary. Sorry, assistant. Yes, you know, we behave properly then. And she says, "Saturday Night Live, Lorne Michaels' office is on the line," on the phone. And yes, this is Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief, Marvel Comics. Yes, Chris Claremont is a writer for us. Yes, he's sitting right across the desk from me. We were talking about our Marvel Team Up. And we were wondering if you'd be interested in teaming up with You're Not Ready for Primetime Players with our premier character, Spider-Man. Talked over. Okay, hung up. 6 weeks later, we had a deal. I was always, you know, So the book comes out, and I got to go down and watch the dress rehearsals for about 3 weeks worth of shows, which is way cooler because they start, and the dress rehearsals run 2 hours plus because it's got stuff in them that's not considered, that they cut out for the show. And they can't screw around in the show because the show is live. And it was like the best thing ever. So I rushed down to the office, and in walks Belushi, and we're all going, "Oh my God, it's John Belushi!" And he's going, "Oh my God, it's Marvel Comics!" And go figure, you know, Dave Cockrum's wife, Katie, comes in, grabs a yardstick that's 3 feet long, for those of you who are metric. And she grabs it and assumes a position. So Belushi grabs another yardstick, assumes a position, and suddenly it's Samurai Comic Book Show. and he looks at me and says, "Oh, Chris, this was a really good issue." Like, "Oh, thank God, John, you have no idea how hard it is to write comedy." And he gives me this look.
And that's comedy.
That kind of look.
That's
What happened, John? I'm sorry.
That's comedy.
Man, what timing.
So, something familiar, something new, something for everyone, a comedy tonight. That's any of you seen sorry, funny thing happened before, but that's so 20th century. So, would you guys come down? He tells us, would you guys like to come down and see the premiere of Animal House tonight, on Friday? At Radio City. So we're all happy as clams, and then about an hour later his office calls, and they're really, really, really sorry. Apparently they've sold out Radio City. It's only 4,800 seats. What the hell? It's a comedy, for God's sakes. Who fills up Radio City for a comedy Animal House? So yeah, screw it again. Welcome to comic books. Would you guys like to come to the after party?
Paul has shared this with me, yeah.
So we showed up there, and we basically were giving out original pages to everybody, to all the people from SNL. And when Belushi bought his new flat in the city, when they were doing a photo shoot, to show you how cool it was, one of the pictures has the 2 pages we gave him prominently displayed, just lying prominently on a table. I thought, wow, that's cool. But that was Welcome to Marvel in the 70s. Can't get that. Oh, and the other thing was, they did it for free. That's it. The proceeds went to went to charity, but we did it all for try getting that or get away with that today. But this is 20th century, and yet again, I've talked too much. You were saying?
That's all right. That's all right. Well, speaking of stories, I brought along my Uncanny X-Men and Teen Titans. What was the story? How was it working with both companies at one time?
Well, we didn't work with both companies at one time. We were the better one. I'm honest. No, this was the deal. It was DC produced one book, Marvel produced the next, DC produced the third, Marvel produced the next. We were number 2. The first one was Superman, Spider-Man, because you always go with the A-list. And yeah, it was okay. And then it was ours, and because it was X-Men Teen Titans, Louise Simonson was the editor, and I was sitting there pitching the core pitch, which was Dark Side, Dark Phoenix, Apocalypse Now. And okay, at that time Walt Simonson just happened to be walking by her office. I'm sure he and Weezy set it up. As I was saying Dark Side, and there's a beat, and suddenly he looks around. Did somebody mention dark side? And the next thing we know, we had a creative team. Me, Walter, and Terry Austin. Really can't do better than that. Though we did throw in Orzechowski and Glynis Oliver just to, make sure we were doing the A+ list. Well, except for me. And that was it. And we just plotted it. And of course, the Titans was edited by Len, so it was like everybody knew everybody, and everybody knew. Well, I didn't know much about the Titans, but Len certainly knew the X-Men. Still pissed off. Well, Wolverine was supposed to be a kid. Not the way Dave drew him. And the claws were in the gloves. Yeah, but that's boring. Oh, I couldn't say that one. And they were supposed to be, and that's why he has those big housings on the back of the gloves. How you shrink adamantium into those, well, that's a whole different discussion. It's weird enough that they fit into his arm. Hi, look at my 7-foot claws. Okay. No, they go all the way up to the, this is what I can't understand. You've got, what's her face? Girl Wolverine.
X-23.
You ever wonder what happened to 1 through 22? Totally different. And it's like, yes, I only have 2 claws on my wrists. That's nice. And I have 2 on my feet. Yeah. And 1 on the back of my feet. I think. And how does that work exactly? The claw retracts, goes up your shin. I mean, you have to have your foot at a certain. But that's the reason that he's 1 and she's 23. But and we just knocked it together, and then Len.
Never a dull moment in Kansas City.
Shut the dickens up. Trust me, if you change the words and to something less sort of iconic, you can get away with a whole lot more interesting stuff. Anyway, Len's problem was, you're supposed to have a Teen Titan villain. Why don't you have a Teen Titan villain? And fortunately, Wheezy would let me answer automatically, which was, are there any Teen Titans? Turns out we used the old guy.
Terminator?
That's right.
That's right, Terminator.
I thought, isn't that Arnold Schwarzenegger in a movie? I'm confused now. Anyway, we used him. And basically it was, how can we put this all together? And we figured we'll do one revolutionary thing. What's her face? Starfire. It's like, none of this is a total surprise. Starfire, being from an extraterrestrial race, knows exactly who Phoenix or what Phoenix is, and especially Dark Phoenix, which is why when she finds out about it, she freaks out completely, which of course scares everybody else. And heroes don't fight. Heroes, oddly enough, what's the word? Oh, they're smart. Go figure. So when they meet, out in the middle of nowhere, outer space, what do Scott and Robin do right off the bat? Hi, I'm Cyclops. I'm Robin. Shake hands. We don't have a 10-page fight, heroes against heroes? No. I'm sorry, if you're Batman's assistant, or whatever, and you're Scott, you guys are like, you know what this is all about. Oh, and besides, the old guy sitting on the wheelchair in the background is a telepath. You're all friends. We just let that one between the panels. It was fun. It was ridiculously fun. It was great. It was like, how many absurd giant panels can we get away with and tell a really, really, really good story? And, treat them like not characters, but human beings. It's like, Kitty is shy. What's his face, the purple guy?
Beast Boy?
Beast Boy is like, you know, hey, cute kid. Why is Starfire kissing Robin? Seriously.
They were a couple at the time.
Good to see Robin.
You know,
He has amazing taste in women.
last time I looked, Sam Guthrie was deeply in love with this rock star thief. But apparently he's not anymore. Anyway, so, because actually we figured this out. If any of you are familiar with a map of the Northeast coast, there's a city. At the top of the city is New York. And across the Hudson River is Newark. And as you move down the Jersey coast, you come to Gotham. Oh no, you come to, sorry, Metropolis. And as you get a little further, you come to Gotham. So New York Harbor is, you know, you've ever been across the Goethals Bridge? It's big. Not the Goethals, sorry, the Verrazano. It's not the Verrazano Narrows, it's the Verrazano really big bridge. That's how you get away with continuity. It's like, yes, they all know each other, they just haven't all met each other because, oh wait, in a megaplex of probably 15 million people, it doesn't happen very often. And let's face it, the kind of adversaries the X-Men deal with are not the kind of adversaries that the Teen Titans deal with. And let's, you know, and do you think the X-Men want to hang out with somebody who knows Batman? No. So, besides, half the time they're not even on it, so what the heck? But everybody knows everybody. It's like Darkseid, if he's gonna steal memories, he knows who to go after until Kitty wakes up and then it's like, wah! I haven't looked at this book in 40 years, what a, and I talk way too much. So that's how we kind of put it all together, and then it came out, and the audience liked it, and then DC and Marvel got into a pissy fit, and it's never been reprinted since until this year when it's going to come out in the hardcover. Yes, another way to get $150 out of each
And it
Please
works.
God, let me get a copy of it. You don't give copies to creators, you should go out and buy your own. You don't pay that much anymore. Oh, you just have to work hard.
Well, speaking
By
of
the way, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank God.
Speaking of working harder, there was an announcement that came out this past week talking about the new X-Men book starting up in June.
Oh, I thought it was about the state of the union. All right.
And I saw your name in the credits. What's it like going back to the X-Men?
When did I leave? Well, how can I be tactful? Seriously. Going back to the X-Men is fine. Figuring out which X-Men and what continuity is interesting. If anyone's been reading my stuff the last few years, it's all basically structured within a specific continuity, i.e. the 16, 17 years that
Yeah.
where I was out selling everybody. Not that I'm making a point. I was out selling everybody. But, yeah, you think that would count for something, but no. So, they call up, I write. Hopefully I write well. You know, the giggle is that when Marvel took an experiment and said, here, Chris, do X-Men forever. What if you hadn't been thrown off the X-Men with X-Men 4? What would have happened next? And gave it a shot, had some fun, went in some interesting directions. The problem is when you're competing with 11 plus other mutant-oriented titles that are all integrated, that are not cheap, and the readers have to get every one. I mean, you're talking a couple of $100.
Easily.
Want to buy this series that isn't related to anything other than the fact that you like Claremont stuff? Oh yeah, no, I want to, I really do, but I gotta get all this other stuff because otherwise I won't know what the hell's going on.
And then you get the crossover events that add another 30 books to
Oh,
the
you mean the
list.
first 5 months of Krakoa? And I'm sitting there reading Marauders because I think a book starring Kitty Pryde named after the villains that almost killed her makes perfect sense. I would. But there just wasn't enough money. I mean, there still isn't. But to have to read, I'm reading the Marauders, I get to this cliffhanger where, oh my God, what happens next? I pick up the next issue. Where's the cliffhanger? Well, apparently it ended 3 titles over to the left. That's great. You mean I have to buy basically all these books to know what's going on? Yes. You are aware that I earn my money, right? That I work for a living, that I have obligations? Yes. Not the comics? What? Sometimes it's too complicated. Sometimes the best. I came from an era where your responsibility was the book you wrote. You make it the best possible book you can. And if you're lucky, you can spin off something and you can write that too. But to integrate everything is like not an efficacious way of moving ahead. It's basically a way to make it easier for readers, A, to not attract new readers, and to, as you go, give your current readers every conceivable excuse to not keep buying the book, when ideally it should be buy the book, love the book, tell your friends. It's like, oh wait, we sold 100,000 copies this year? Yeah, dream on. Let's try and sell 200,000 next year, okay? And then everybody goes home happy. But that is so 20th century, I'm sorry.
All right, let's open it up to the floor here. If you've got a question, I'm going to ask that you stand. Let us know your name and ask the question right here.
My question is, a couple years ago, you returned for the Gambit single run. What?
The miniseries.
Yes.
Yes.
What made you decide to come back to Gambit specifically? He hasn't really had his own story like that in quite a while.
The editor called up and said, "You want to write a Gambit miniseries?" Sure. I mean, yeah. And that was at the point in Gambit's life when Ro was like 12 years old and had no powers, and she just met Gambit, and she'd almost been captured by the Shadow King, and they got out of town, and basically, if any of you remember Storm or Ro's history, she spent the first dozen years of her life learning how to be a pretty badass thief in Cairo, not Illinois, the other Cairo, where amazing though how many similarities there are between our Cairo and the real Cairo. You know, we have rivers, we have, you know, and given the current state of immigration, we have lots of different people. So yeah, I just said let's have fun, and then I figured I'd try something even more daring, which was, wait, I have 5 issues. How many stories can I tell in 5 issues? So suddenly, well, we'll do 1-parter to wrap up the old continuity, and then we'll do 2-parters just for the hell of it. And, you know, my ambition with that, as with pretty much everything I write, was it'll be good enough, but more importantly, it'll sell so much that they'll want to approve another one. Sadly, I learned the real response to that is good luck with that, dude. No, it's just, it was fun. I love Gambit. love Road. I figured, you know, the monsters were really great monsters. And you know, yet another time for a poor woman in a Claremont book to fall in love with a hero and end the series not as, well, she was as well off, she just didn't have the looks she started with. But of course, then I could wait, and I could do a series of intergalactic marshals with her and her mom, and also one of the rare times where her middle-aged mom gets superpowers. Well, I'm sorry. Why is comics so kid-centered? Why can't grown-ups have fun too? So I figured, what the heck? And you know, but it was also a chance to give you a look at Remy's reality from the kid's perspective, which is she's scared stiff. Because if he goes off with you know, his girlfriend, what happens to her? Well, we have to get her back to the X-Men because that's the next issue in the continuity that Jim Lee and I had. But they were on their own for quite a while. I figured, wait, it's got to be long enough for her hair to grow from a buzz cut to the bottom of her back. So how long would that take?
2-3 years?
Oh, well, she's a mutant, we can speed that up. But I could still string it out for a couple of years of stories. But, you know, it's, at least the 5-issue was fun. And one can keep one's fingers crossed. Oh, sorry.
We'll come back over here.
Honor to meet you, sir. I just wanted to ask you a question. We've got X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yep.
We got X-Men Days of Future Present. If you ended up writing on the X-Men again, you're looking at Days of Future.
Did I do Days of Future Present? I don't think so.
That was an annual crossover, I think. Yeah.
How many times can we have Cyclops possessed by the Phoenix? Dude, you do understand. Here is highest authority. Step down a half step. Yes. There's the Phoenix. Yes. Step down a half step. Yes. There's the Phoenix's sweetie, the short guy. You don't mess around with the concept of omnibus. And for those of you who haven't been hanging around my table, I will tell you a secret. Okay, here we are. It's like Kitty's working at the Princess Bar outside the University of Chicago. She loves it. But every night there's this shadow in the corner who's very nice, has drinks, but basically engages in conversation and has a pitch for Pride. What is it? Come on, take the deal. Be the guardian of forever. Nah, I'm sorry. I gotta clean it. I've gotta clean the bar. No, come on. You'd be good at it. What, are you in a sorority? Or a fraternity? Why can't I get a good look at you? Some things aren't meant to be seen, just felt. So finally, after an unspecified but extreme amount of time, she said, all right, for God's sakes, thank you. Yeah, well, congratulations. Wait, God's sakes was not me being alliterative? So this is her and Rachel's third time around the wheel. You start at the beginning, you go through about 100 billion years, the universe comes to an end. But on the last day of the universe, there's Logan. He's been sitting on this rock, which is orbiting on a little planet that's orbiting. Yes, I did swipe from Xperi for this. Antoine de Xperi. Go look it up. And waiting for the sun to go out. And over here's this little door, and the door opens every so often, and Kitty comes out with dinner. She and Lockheed and Wolverine have dinner, and they chat. And what's the news of the day? And Kitty tells him the news of her day, and then she asks Logan the news of his day, and he says, we orbited the planet. He doesn't mind, he meditates. And because I'm feeling garrulous, way over on the horizon is this bump on the horizon, if you were, in the distance is this bump on the horizon, which if you went over would be this giant figure of a ruined TARDIS, surrounded by a fence on which is written, property of the British Broadcasting Company. No trespassing allowed, we mean you, Claremont. Just putting it in context. So finally, as the sun is reaching its last moment, a bright light appears next to it. And almost like the sun's light is being absorbed by this new light, and it descends down, and of course it's the redhead. And, you know, she and Logan pick up where they left off, and the sun goes out, and it's dark. And because it's my fantasy, it's about 7 seconds, and then the James Bond theme sounds, and light reappears, and the universe is back to life. And Pride looks at Lockheed, and Lockheed looks at Pride, and Pride shrugs and goes, oh, here we go again. Because that's my cosmology. Yes, it is a circle. It begins with Logan and Jean, it ends with Logan and Jean. Which is why in the present day, Jean loves Scott passionately, even though he screws up every other moment when I'm not writing it. I follow Stan's lead, you know. And Logan loves Mariko, but at best they're gonna last 150 years, and you have the rest of eternity to deal with. So it's just, you know, perspective. They're both, in their own little ways, stellar beings. Marvel didn't think that was a good idea. That's why I'm being there then.
How about a question over here, right here, red shirt?
So, one of the things that I spoke with you about yesterday was,
It was a lie.
the filler, not so much filler, but the flight, what I call the flights of fancy issues in between, like, the darker storylines, like the slumber party right after the Demon Bear, and there's several other of them through your run where you take the X-Men and you kind of have a little fun before we get into the next super dark thing. Was that a conscious decision on your part? Was that part of the way of cleansing the palette in between stories? Just curious on your thought process on this.
Are you at all familiar with this writer from Avon, Bill Shakespeare? If you notice, every comedy has characters and a significant scene involving tragedy. And every tragedy has characters and a significant scene involving comedy. Because in the midst of everything, you do need an alternative. On the other hand, when I was doing this, a long time ago in a galaxy far away, yada, yada, yada. The kids did homework. It was a school. They had responsibilities. Oh wait, somebody has to clean up after dinner. You have to clean your room. You have to do this. You have to do that. Find me anyone on Krakoa in the last 4 years who went out shopping. Who tidied their house, their allotment, whatever the hell it is. Who went to school. There are mentions of school.
The closest thing I can come to it with it is early on in the run there was a double-page spread of them at the bar, and like
Which is
a
always
ridiculous amount of characters in it.
Oh, I've seen it on Star Trek in the whatever it is, Ready Room or whatever.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, at least Patrick Stewart's Star Trek, where they all go down and hang with Guinan and talk. I'm sorry. When I read something, I want people that at least marginally kind of look, forgive me, like you guys, that do things, you people, I shouldn't, sorry, that, you know, go out and go to the store, you make your beds.
Life happens
The
in between
whole point of Marvel, as opposed to DC, was Peter Parker earned his living. He squawked. Come on. He had to pay the rent. He had to, sell a picture to Jonah because Jonah will pay him $25 and that will help pay the rent. That was the key thing with Marvel. DC was nothing but millionaires. Tony Stark got drunk a lot, which is a great story arc. But the difference between A and B is that it was a recognizable analog to real life. And regardless of how good the stories might be, Krakoa had a very challenging analog to real life. Nobody went around in real clothes much. They all read to me, and I grant you, I'm a very specific audience. Like, ideals. These are Marvel superheroes. They live on Krakoa. And occasionally you'll have depending on the artist or the writer, you'll have a scene where they meet, all the diplomatic representatives come to Krakoa. They can't come to the island. They have to land on Emma's little bitty pieces off the island. I could never figure out why Krakoa was forbidden and those bitty pieces weren't. Why Kitty tries to go through the door, the gateway, and smashes her face. There accidents will happen, but why? It's like, and then, well, never mind. That's just, it doesn't exist anymore anyway, so why should I care? But hopefully the next iteration will be more realistic, because that, for me anyway, as a reader, sadly going back a very, very long way, that was what made Marvel cool. Everybody, they acted like they dealt with real world stuff. And DC rarely did. And there were so many, at DC, cool opportunities, like Superman wanting to bring Takeaway over to a young, this is from Sovereign 7, girl moves into Manhattan, he helps her collect furniture for her house by doing what everybody else, a lot of other people of that age and income status does. You go dumpster diving, and you can find some really good furniture. But, so he picks up Chinese food from like Beijing or Hong Kong, because he's Superman, he can get away with that sort of foolishness. Comics should be fun, if for no other reason to counteract all the tragedy. If you don't do fun, you don't fall in love with the characters, and if you don't fall in love with the characters, then Dark Phoenix makes no sense. And I have to say, I say that speaking as the person who made her get away with it in the first draft. But it was only when Jim came in and said, "You really can't kill 5 billion people and get away with it." And smartest boo, I talk too much. We just got a 5 signal. But that's, which led me to the story I should have come up with in the first place, which is she dies at the end. But you can't kill Jean, right? My God, they'll kill us. Oh, no, you can. Because why? Because that's reality. Welcome to reality. Bringing her back, and that makes it comic books. And once you do it, what I could never understand is the characters have all died. Well, they resurrect them every week. You bargain for like resurrected as of what time? And the question I kept asking myself is, I'm sorry, who programs this? Who's running Cerebro to do this? If you could get resurrected, why should we care? Because it means nothing. And there's no risk. And, but that's, again, that's me ranting about something completely different. Want a quick last question or two?
Yeah, lady right here with the braids.
Hi, my name's Peach. I'm freaking out just to be in the same room with you. So thank you for everything that you've done. My
Not done yet.
question for you. Do you ever, when you're crafting your stories in your heart or your mind, is it ever a concern for you how specifically academics or people who are critically analyzing your work are going to see it? Or is that something you leave away and just are glad that that happens?
When I started, it was like, oh my God, they're buying this story. Or let me put it this way. One of the first stories I wrote, Roy Thomas walks into the room. All of us flunkies are hanging out, you know, after work. It's like 5:30, 5:45. He has a handful of artwork. And his line was basically, this is late, the writer screwed up. I need this turned in tomorrow before 8 o'clock. Who wants it? I got my hand up first. So that means I have to script 17 pages and get it turned into the office by 8:30 in the morning. It's a test. Yes, it's a test. Because if you don't do that, if you get it in by 9 or 9:30, you go to the back of the pack. This is, you know, I have an assignment. Can you do the assignment within the deadline? Boom. That's the rule. What will academics think of this in 30 years? Screw that. I got to please the editor, right? Was it really cool to get 150 letters about the death of Phoenix? It was very cool. The death threats were interesting. Because Frank and I were comparing notes. You know, I killed Gene, he killed Electra. NYPD said, when you get shot at, well, let us know. You don't think about that. You think about, I'm going to write the best story I can, so that all of you people will think, this is really good. I'm not going to buy that stupid comic. I'm going to buy this stupid comic. That's what it's all about. And you want to come back, you want next issue to sell more than this issue, and the issue after that to sell more. Yes, it's a business, but my job is to, forgive me, entertain, but make it something that you're learning and interested, and you fall in love with these characters better than I did. And then complain to me about all the stuff you think I'm doing wrong. And I'll just nod politely and say, well, I'm only responsible for the 100 panels you see. What happens between the panels, I know what happens between the panels, and I'm, you know, face it, God Emperor of these books, except for the editor. But it's your imagination that can play with it. You can figure out, wait, no, Chris, you should have gone this direction. I think this character's really cool. Why is the writer so stupid that he doesn't see that? I'm so much better than him. Welcome to the world. That's what it's supposed to be. It's an interactive romance between me and the characters and you guys. And you shouldn't buy anything out of habit. You should buy because you love it. Because everybody's done their job right. And the characters are worth it. The last thing anyone should do is say, and me included, is because this old fart is sitting up here and say, this stuff's really good, you gotta buy it because I put my heart and soul into it. If you read it and say, then I haven't done my job. And that's a fair, I can be heartbroken and pissed off, but that's it. But if you pick it up and go, this is nuts, but it's cool. What happens next? Bingo. And then you should go out and tell all your friends because, damn it, I liked it when we canceled books because they didn't sell 100,000 copies. It's fun to sell 500,000 a month. It's more fun to sell 8.5 million a month, but that's a whole different discussion. No, last thing you can throw us out. What I wanted after X-Men 1 was when I still thought I was on the book. I wanted to get to X-Men 12 and still sell 7 figures. To still maybe sell 1 million. Because that to me was, we've changed everything. We've made these, it's not fan people, it's not like fan people who want to, I have 100,000 copies of X-Men 1. Yeah, there's like 8 million more to go. I want them to say, I love these characters, I love this art, I love this writer. What happens next? That's what it's all about. And it's a love affair. And I want to make sure you're all happy. And I want to work my ass off to make you appreciate and justify that falling in love. Otherwise, what the hell's the point? Sorry, I do talk too much, but I just. If you have any questions, come by my table. I'll be there all afternoon.
37:42.
I'll be back in an hour.